Hi, this is Benjamin of Studio 42, and I want to present you my latest development in the MerQry engine. Recently, I added some pretty advanced support for exporting FBX objects from Blender. So you can now create complex hierarchical objects and easily export them into my latest MerQry engine. What I also felt would be really nice is if I could work in Blender, and whatever changes I do there, I could easily take them into my system to compare how the graphics look in my engine. So what I recently did is provide us with a hot load feature. So I will just demo that for short. I will just add a little monkey face, which is standard in Blender, and we'll set the data there. I will position it accordingly, rotate it, and what I will also do is add that's something that I will also add to that as a detail. I'm supporting getting custom properties, and one of these custom properties is to add in which layers it is rendered in my system. So what I wanted to make sure is that you can also define metadata for that system. So now when I save it, it should easily be there with the standard default material. So what I can do is I can go here and I can give it some, let's say, some steel basic material, and you can see it's immediately loading it into my engine in real time. What happens is I added some Python script in the Blender, which is automatically started whenever I'm opening this project. And this Python script is actually, I can show that for short. This Python script is actually pretty short. What it does is it will, and that's actually the most important lines are these ones here, it will register into this post save. It will register the export handler, which is actually exporting the scene into a defined file, which is in the same folder. So I'm using the folder of the file, and the name of the export file, I've just by convention said, okay, it's called mesh FBX in my system in the same folder. So I'm working on this file. So whenever I'm calling Control+S, it will automatically call that handler, and this handler will automatically update the exported file, the FBX file. That's the one thing that I had to do. And on the other side, what I did is in my engine, I added a folder listener, which is watching the directory, and whenever it finds a change on the file, it will actually reload that object, that part in my system. So I had to sort of build both sides of the bridges. Regarding that, I'm just playing around a little bit. So what I can do is I can easily render it smooth. I can also add, for example, if I'm like, okay, I would want to make it a bit more, even more smooth, so I will subdivision it, and I will give it like, let's give it quite some triangles. I'm saving it, and you can see that it's immediately loading it into the system. Now this has quite a lot of triangles. This thing alone has really a lot of triangles already, and I mean, you can see that it's still a structure, but that's quite some triangles that will end up there. And I can sort of show the triangles there. It should provide us with actually I don't find it where it is now, but the point of the thing is you can even work with modifiers easily. As you can see, I can remove the modifier, and when I save it again, it will immediately be updated. You can see it's I now frame capped it at 60, and if I save it, you barely see it twitching. So if I'm now giving it a new material, just for the sake of playing around with it, you can see it's really quickly. It drops for short, but it's loaded immediately, and that's a nice feature which really makes the life easier when working with the MerQry engine, to really have the possibility to use Blender here, and in a very let's say, direct way and then testing it. What you can also see here is these little blue and green spheres. This is actually mount points. What I mean is, like, my objects can have some dynamic interactions. So you can see here's 3 ports, and I added, like you see, these empty objects. And what they have is they have a mount type metadata. So this is a beam, this is also a beam, this is also a beam. So this will be parts where you can stick objects there. This is, for example, it's a power connector, and here's a feature connector. So that is sort of a feature type solar panel. So what I could do is I could easily duplicate that object and let's say copy it here onto the head and save it, and we would immediately see that this mount point is also reloaded. So I'm not only loading the file itself, but I'm also parsing it and sort of making sure that all the dynamic post-loading scripts that I have on my side are re-executed properly, and so that the system is always consistent. And what I want to make sure that right from the get-go, my engine is able to really work with live data, and I want to use the Blender tool really to the max to make sure that most of the modeling and all the metadata curation is done within Blender, and that the engine itself is really just used for the interactions in themselves and for the physics, but like the modeling and the details can be done in Blender directly. What I also did to make sure that the materials look at least somehow close to it, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting better and better, is actually I started to sort of have simple materials here in Blender that sort of closely resemble my settings. It turns out that the engine does somehow a different job on the materials. Sure, I might just copy over the GLSL ray shader one day. I do not think that 100% rendering consistency is urgently required, but that's something I'm surely considering, that the Blender viewport really is as close as possible to the engine output. That would for sure be neat as well. I'm sure that's possible. I mean, I added some, as you can see here, I added some advanced blooming effects and all that stuff. So I'm sure there's always a little difference, but it might be cool to have it a bit closer to my engine. I also have another environment map than here, so this is using a different environment. Also, this makes some difference, but yeah, besides that, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this little intro, and if you're curious, I'm looking forward to hear some feedback from you. So see you next time.